Hello there. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you so much for visiting my channel and watching my videos. My name is Michelle Land Johnson. I'm a keynote speaker, executive coach, and now a spiritual teacher, talking about all kinds of spiritual stuff for the people that I say are the spiritually curious, those folks who maybe you're curious about having a spiritual practice, but you're not yet committed because maybe some things are confusing. Some topics like karma or chakras or what is this whole thing about consciousness and energy? And well, I decided to create this channel to explain some things based on my own experience over the last 20 years of being a mystic and a seeker and doing my own spiritual healing and practice and doing it with other folks as well. So I've made this series of videos. I highly suggest that you go back to video number 1. Go back to the beginning. I number these videos because they seem to take on an order of chronological topics that kind of build and scaffold on each other. And so I highly recommend that you go back and listen to the older ones to kind of catch up. And to that point, the last video that I did, I believe it's video number 33, I was talking about how I have been going back to the basics because of all the craziness that's been going on in the world, all the uncertainty. It's so easy to get caught up in the fear and the worry and the anxiety and the anger and the sadness of everything that's going on. And those feelings are absolutely valid. And at the same time, in every single moment, we also have access to joy, to peace, to contentment, to optimism. And it is a choice. And so in the previous video, I talked about how spirit has been telling me to go back to the basics. What you know to be true. What do I know to be true? What are those foundational truths that I base my knowledge system on? Not my belief system, my knowledge system. What do I know to be true? And so in the previous video, I talked about the first 5 that I sat down at my breakfast table and wrote down. And I guarantee you, if you meditate on these truths, you will feel your energy start to shift. You will feel yourself begin to open to the love of Source that is all around us. That is truth number 1. Source loves us. Source is all around us. We are Source. And I guarantee you, of just anchoring yourself when you feel all of the fear and the doubts and the insecurities start to come up, going back to these fundamental, foundational, basic truths will ground you and anchor you and reset your energy field. So 1 through 5 is on the previous video. I'm going to go through 6 through 8 in this video. So what's number 6? Number 6 is I can pull what I need from the field. I can interact with it directly because I am a part of it. What does that mean? The field is the field of energy and consciousness that is the fabric of the universe. I'm not saying anything that science hasn't already proven. We live in a field of energy, and that energy is conscious. We live and exist, and all of the universe and everything that we see is a part of and exists in a field of consciousness. And because this field of consciousness is us and we are it, we can interact with it directly. We don't need a mediator. We don't need a go-between. We don't need a broker between us and the field. That's the old way of doing things. Oh, I've got to go to I don't want to get too controversial, but I got to go to some person and then they'll intercede on my behalf. No, we are Source. So why would we need somebody to be in between us and source? We are source. We can interact with the field directly, with our intention, with our consciousness, with our prayer. And because we can interact with the field directly, we can pull what we need from the field. We can pull resources from the field. We can pull information. We can pull opportunities. We can pull experiences from the field directly because we are a part of the field. So what would that look like? What do you mean, Michelle? I can pull what I need from the field? Well, the first thing is go back to that truth, one of the truths that I laid out in the previous video, that the field responds. The field responds to our thoughts, our intentions, our prayers, our desires. And so if that's true, then if we intend to have the resources that we need, if we intend to have the support, the information, the opportunities, the experiences that we need to evolve and grow and move forward in our journey, then that means we can pull what we need from the field. Because everything that we need exists in the field and is a part of the field. And we are a part of the field. So we're not separate from the field. This is what unity consciousness is all about. Getting rid of this separation in our minds, in our experience, that we are somehow separate from the field. I believe this is what the parable of the Garden of Eden talked about in the Bible, what it really means. Getting cast out of the Garden of Eden simply means that that was when we as human beings started to see ourselves as separate from the field, separate from source, separate from creator, separate from all that is. And look at all of the destruction that has happened. Look at all of the pain that has been caused because of our perceived separation. But that's an illusion. This is what the indigenous folks know. We are a part of source. We can't be separate from source because we are source. How can we be separate? It's like a cell being separate from our bodies. It is a part of our body. There's no way to separate. It's like a drop of water being separate from the ocean. It can't be. It is a part of the ocean. It makes up the ocean. So we can pull what we need from the field. The field responds to our intention. It responds to our prayers. It responds to our desires. And we set that intention. We send it out into the universe. We impregnate the field with our masculine polarity, sending our thoughts and our intention, and then we receive with our feminine polarity. We receive what we need from the field. So that is truth number 6. We can pull what we need, anything we need from the field. Number 7, I can put my attention on negative possibilities or positive possibilities. I choose to focus on the outcomes that I want and put my intention and energy towards those. The field carries all possibilities. The field is infinite. Yes, there are certain possibilities that are more probable given our soul blueprint, given our dharma, given our karma, given where we've been, where we're going, what we need to work on, given our lessons, what we need to heal, who we came here to be, given the contracts and agreements that we have with other souls. Yes, there are certain possibilities that are more probable, but the field carries all possibilities. And in every moment, I have a choice to make. I can focus on the possibilities that are terrifying, negative. I can focus on the possibilities that are fearful, or I can focus on the possibilities that I want, the outcomes that I want to have happen. I can focus on the outcomes that will bring me joy. I can focus on the outcomes that will be painful, or I can focus on the outcomes that will be joyful. That is my choice in every single moment. And I know it's easier sometimes, oftentimes, to focus on, what if this happens, and what if that happens, and what if this happens, as if we can control those things. We're in a much better position to control whether or not we experience something negative if we are choosing to put our attention on the positive possibilities. Because if we're focusing on the negative, it makes it much more likely that that's what's going to happen. Why? Because the field is all around us. It responds to our intention. It responds to our energy because we are a part of the field. And so, Source will say, is this what you want? And in that moment, we say, fear, anger, sadness. Let's repeat some of the bad things that have happened to us. Unconsciously, of course. We're not consciously doing this. But is this what you want? Yes, more fear, please. More anger, please. More lack, please. More scarcity, please. It responds to us. It mirrors back to us our level of consciousness. It mirrors back to us what we want to work on. Is this what you want? Even if we're not consciously choosing, we are choosing by our lack of conscious choice. And so, the more we can, in the moment, choose, is this what you want? Ooh, that looks like what I experienced in the past. I don't know if I want that. Okay. Is this what you want? Ooh, that seems like the same thing. Oh, I don't think I want that. Okay. Is this what you want? No, I don't want that. I choose a different experience. Great. Is this what you want? That looks a little bit more like what I'm going for. Okay, great. Is this what you want? Yes, that is what I want. That's all the field does. Is this what you want? Is this what you want? Is this what you want? Because it responds to us. We are the field. The field is us. It simply mirrors back to us our own level of consciousness. It mirrors back to us the stories that we are playing out in our energetic field. And so, exercising choice. Is this what you want? You want to be in fear, anger, and sadness? Is that what you want? Is that what you want to be experiencing throughout the day? Because you can do that. You want to be focused on all the horrible things that can happen to you in your life? You want to catastrophize? You can do that. Or you can interrupt that pattern in the moment. Wait a minute. Source loves me. Source is all around me. I am Source. Source wants me to succeed. Source wants me to thrive. Source responds to my prayer. Source responds to my intention. I can pull what I need from the field. I choose to focus on the outcomes that I want in my life. That's what I'm going to put my attention, intention, energy, and focus and effort on. This over here. So, what are you choosing in every moment? What are you choosing to entertain in your mind, in your heart, in your field? Are you choosing to entertain the negative? Because we can do that. We can keep doing that. Like in the last video, I talked about how 5 o'clock in the morning, this morning, woke up in a state of panic. What's going to happen? Am I going to have enough money? And whoa. I could choose to continue on with that. I could choose to continue on in that panic state. Or I decided to make a different choice and go, wait, we're not doing that, Michelle. That's not what we're doing. Here's what we're doing. Wait a minute. Source loves me. Source responds to me. I choose to focus on the positive possibilities and put my intention toward that. That's the choice. That is the choice. And because the field holds all possibilities and responds to our intention and our level of consciousness, the more we can keep, I'm putting my intention toward that. I'm putting my intention toward, I get everything I need from the field. I'm putting my intention toward, I can pull what I need from the field. I can pull the money. I can pull the opportunities. I can pull the experiences that I want to have from the field. I'm putting my intention toward that. I know that to be true. How do I know that to be true? Because it has been proven to me over and over and over again in my life. I have countless experiences that I could share with you where, because of my intention, because I know how to work with the field, because I know how to impregnate the field with my intention and ask for what I need from the field, it's shown up almost miraculously over and over and over again. But even with all of that evidence, I can still get caught up in the anger, fear, sadness stories. And so I have to keep going back to these truths. What do you know to be true, Michelle? What do you know to be true? Okay, so that is truth number 7. We can put our attention on the negative possibilities, or we can put our intention and attention on the positive ones. I choose to focus on the positive possibilities and put my energy and intention toward those, which makes it much more likely that that is what I will experience. You see how this is all working together? In the previous truth number 5 that I shared in the previous video, I said, even within the larger consensus reality, we still have choice over our individual reality. We still have choice. We still have free will. And because our individual reality matters to Source, because it is experiencing itself through us, and because we can pull what we need from the field, we get to choose what we pull. We get to choose what we experience. We can experience negative, we can experience positive, and everything in between. What do you want to experience? Make the choice. In every moment, we have a choice. Okay, so that was number 7. And number 8, the final one for now. And this is very important, especially for what's happening in our world right now. The old system is collapsing. The old system is collapsing. So, I choose to disinvest from the old system and invest my intention, energy, willpower, commit to the new one that we are co-creating with Source. The one that is being created out of infinite universal consciousness. Yes, we can continue to stay invested in this old system based on money and resources and hierarchy and limitation and scarcity and constraint and competition. That's this old system that is collapsing. We can choose to stay invested in that, emotionally invested, psychologically invested. We can choose to stay invested in that. And that is what causes a lot of the anger, fear, sadness emotions to come up. What's going to happen? Because We're all plugged into this old system, this old consensus reality. This is all we know are the ways, the laws, the ethics, the mores, right? It's all we know is this reality. We go to work, we make the money with right? That's all we know. And so when it starts to fall apart, what's going to happen? We feel like the ground beneath us is just falling away. Well, hold on. That consensus reality, that old system is like so insignificant in the span of the universe. We have to open ourselves up to the fact, the truth, that the universe is infinite. And we are limiting ourselves if we are invested in this smaller consensus reality that we all live in. So we've got to, okay, this old system is collapsing. This consensus reality is shifting because more and more of us are no longer in agreement to it. So yeah, it is collapsing because more and more people are no longer in consensus with it. Think about that. Why is this reality? Because more and more people are going, wait a minute, this is weird. We've been doing this thing for thousands and thousands of years. Can we do something different? Can we have a different experience on this planet? Well, yes, we can. But that means as more and more people are no longer in agreement to the system, to this consensus reality, that it's going to start to fall apart while we create a new one. We're in transition. And so one thing that will help speed along this transition is if we are all pulling our energy, our thoughts, our beliefs around the only way that I can get my needs met is by plugging in to this old consensus reality. That's the only way I can get my needs met. That's not true. We can unplug from the old system, allow it to fall apart and shift and do what it needs to do while we reinvest, recommit, plug into universal energy, the universal system of consciousness that we are all a part of. And start to put our intention out there. What kind of a world do we want to live in next as this old system is collapsing? What outcomes do we want for our lives and for our loved ones and for our communities and for our societies? I'm going to put my intention toward that because the field holds all possibilities. The field responds to us. We are the field. The field wants us to succeed. You see how all these truths stack on top of each other? My individual experience matters just as much as this larger consensus reality that's falling apart. Therefore, I choose to use my energy and my personal power and my intention to create the new reality that is being birthed. Because of all of the people around the world that are going, yeah, this doesn't work for me anymore. It doesn't work for anybody else either. We need something new. So let's partner with Source to create the new. That will be much more equitable, will be much more just, will be much more prosperous and abundant for all. Because that's where we are. That's where we're going in our evolution. So as we continue to see the old system crumble and we feel the feelings of fear and anger and sadness come up, realize that we're feeling that way. Part of why we're feeling those feelings is because we are still invested emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, energetically in the old system. And so part of our work is to continue to hoover our energy back from that system. And that can just be visualizing you unplugging yourself from this old system. You can see this old system as a big bubble or even a rose. I've used roses in previous videos. You can visualize a big rose in your mind's eye that represents the old system. Ground it to the center of the planet. Anchor it in your mind to the center of the planet. Allow Mother Earth to reset that energy of this old system, to allow it to do what it needs to do, to decay. To decay. As I said that, I started to see this rose just start to turn black and fall away, just like roses do, flowers do, things that decay do, things that have run their course. They start to decompose. That's what we're seeing right now. So you see that rose in your mind's eye that represents the old system that is crumbling, falling away, falling apart, decomposing. Ground it to the center of the planet, anchor it, and ask Mother Earth, reuse this energy, reset this energy, do what you need to do with this energy as it continues its decline. And then you call your energy back. You can release any contracts that you have with that old system. Call your energy back from those contracts, agreements from the larger consensus reality. I no longer agree to be a part of that. It doesn't support me in my evolution anymore. And it certainly doesn't support most folks on the planet anymore. So I'm choosing to disinvest. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have compassion. That doesn't mean we don't stay engaged with what's going on. That doesn't mean we don't help. But it's about the spiritual and energetic pulling back our energy and then opening ourselves up to source and choosing in every moment to engage with the field and pull what we need from the field with the knowledge that it will come to pass, that we do have the power over our individual realities. Whew. So those are the 8 truths that I wanted to share with you today. And like I said, these are so powerful that if you did nothing else but just meditated on these truths, your frequency would start to rise. Because this is truth. This is the truth of who we are. This is where we're going as human beings in our consciousness. Why are we worried about our bills? Why are we worried about all this? Why are we going to war? Why are we fighting each other? We don't need to do this anymore. We've learned those lessons. Let that system decay. Let that consensus reality crumble as we plug into the new and embody these truths, these spiritual truths in our lives and in how we choose to engage with ourselves, with each other, and with Source. That's the whole shebang. So I want to thank you so much for listening. Always, always, always. I thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to continuing the conversation. Drop me a note if you do choose to meditate on these truths. I'm very, very curious to see how it will change you and start to shift your frequency. Drop me a note. Let me know what happens. All right. Until the next video, be well. Take care.